Dear colleagues, names are important, special things. They are linguistic expressions denoting an individual or an individual person or object, while they are also symbols that evoke a variety of feelings in name users. That's why people show a special interest in names. And this curiosity might be reflected even in the Name of the Year awards. This is the topic of today's lecture. And this is a special occasion because the speaker is one of the board members of ICOS, also one of the organizers of this lecture series. I'm very happy to welcome Lasse Hämäläinen from Finland. And I also would like to welcome Marianne Schlies, who is the chair of this event. Thank you very much, Lasse and Marianne, for accepting our invitation. And as always, I wish a wonderful time for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now let me introduce you our speaker. Lasse Hämäläinen works at the University of Helsinki, and as Katalin said, he's an executive member of the ICOS Board of Directors. From 2017 to 21, he worked as the postgraduate representative of the board. And he gained experience in international science organization as the main organizer of the Helsinki ICOS Summer School in 2019. And he's a member of the organizing committee of the upcoming ICOS Congress in Helsinki, as we could hear it. And he finished his PhD thesis some years ago with the title Names on the Internet. As we can guess, his special fields of interest are the creation, characteristics, and the use of online names, such as usernames or the names on the dark web or level names in online games. And today, as we all know, he will talk about the Finnish Name of the Year awards and the characteristics of its candidates. So, Lasse, the field is yours.
Thank you very much for Katalin and Marianne for your kind introduction, and hello everybody. If we hadn't said hello already, so before I jump into the actual topic of my research, I just wanted very quickly to remind you about this ICOS Congress, which is coming. It is in August 2024, but now I think it is very good time to remind you about that because the call for papers is closing very soon on October 31st. So if you haven't already sent in your paper or your abstract for that, please consider doing so. And if you want to do so, make it quite quickly. And if you need the instructions for the abstract submission, you can visit this short link tinyurl.com/ICOS2024, or you may also just write ICOS 2024 Helsinki to Google, and I think you should get the Congress website right on the top of the search results. And please share this information about the ICOS Congress with all your colleagues who might be interested if you haven't already done so. And I think that's about the Congress. So hopefully we'll see each other in Helsinki in a little less than 1 year from this moment. But yes, as in the introduction was said, today I will be talking about the Finnish Name of the Year award. When Katalin first asked me to give a lecture in this Onomastics Online series, she asked me to talk about online usernames or something in general about names in online environments. But in this kind of occasion, I really wanted to talk about something that would be of common interest for all of us onomasticians, not depending on whether our main interest is on place names or personal names or commercial names or literary names or whatever. So I wanted to talk to you about how names are, how we communicate about names and onomastics to the wider audience, to the non-academic audience. And so today I will be talking about this Finnish Name of the Year award, which is, at least in Finnish context, very important tool for communicating to the wider audience. And here now you see the presentation outline. So first in this lecture, I will be introducing the Finnish Name of the Year award to you, as if you are not from Finland, you might not be aware of it, or you might not know about what it is. So I'm going to explain you that, and I will tell you how the winner is chosen. Then, secondly, I will be analyzing some of the successful names. I will be introducing the previous winners of each year, and I will be also making some analysis about the finalists by their language and by their name categories. And thirdly, I will be examining some of the media reactions concerning the award. I will explain our communication strategy, and then I will examine some of the media coverage this award has received earlier. And finally, I will be making some discussion and conclusions about this whole thing. But yeah, first I will be introducing the Finnish Name of the Year award to you. Oh, what is it, this Name of the Year award? Here I have a quotation from the website of the Finnish Conference of Onomastics. The original text is in Finnish, but I have translated it here in English and also bolded some parts of this text, so it explains like this. Name of the Year is an honorary title given for a good name that has been visible during the past year. The purpose of the award is to bring forward successful name choices and to emphasize the importance of name giving in the society. The award winner can belong to any category of proper names, place names, personal names, company names, product names, and so on. So, what is perhaps the main parts, at least in my opinion, here are these adjectives: good and successful. They are not quite clearly explained what it actually means in this context. So each person who sees the award can determine him or herself what that might mean. But so we try to look for names that are in some way good, or name choices that are in some way successful. And we also want to search for names that have been in some way visible. This probably, I think that it means that these names have been given that particular year, or they have been changed that particular year, or they might be for some other reason, they might have been in the Finnish media. So they would be relevant for this award in that sense. But this is kind of the main or basic concept what the Name of the Year award is. And maybe it's worth mentioning that we have chosen it each year since 2017. So there is some kind of tradition, but it is still relatively short, this history of the award. And I should also mention that it is a Finnish award, so the candidates should be somehow located in Finland or otherwise closely connected to the Finnish culture. And I know that at least the American Name Society also chooses their own name of the year, or actually names of the year, because they have different award categories. And to my knowledge, their award is a little more international. So I think that this Finnish award is concentrated on Finland mainly. And well, it might be very well that there are similar kinds of traditions in other countries as well, but maybe I'm not just aware of them. But if there are, it would be nice to hear them after this lecture. You can maybe share your experiences or knowledge if you know anything about similar traditions in other countries. But then how the name of the year is chosen. Selecting and announcing the award winner is closely linked to the Finnish Conference of Onomastics, which is an annual event. It has been organized since 1998 by the University of Helsinki. It is usually organized in October or November, and this year it will be from 9th to 10th of November. So we are living quite exciting times in Finland, because in a bit more than in 2 weeks, we are going to choose the name of the year 2023. But yeah, approximately there are usually in the Finnish Conference of Onomastics, there are approximately 50 participants who are researchers and students of onomastics or names and language experts working outside academia. But anyway, this Name of the Year award kind of represents an expert view to what kind of names are good and worth celebrating by this award. And nowadays we have 5 members in this organizing committee of the conference, and this committee is important for the award because it also serves as the jury of the Name of the Year award. The selection procedure of this award is so that firstly, everyone can suggest candidates for the award throughout the year via an online form. And usually we get approximately 20 to 30 suggestions, even though there is kind of quite a lot of variation depending on what kind of year it has been onomastically and also otherwise. And then from these suggestions, this jury or the conference organizing committee selects 7 candidates, which are from now on I will call finalists, to the vote. And the award winner is selected from these 7 finalists during the conference, the Finnish Conference of Onomastics, in a closed vote. And all the conference participants, so this approximately 50 people, can vote, and usually most of them also will, but not all of them. And each voter can choose 1, 2, or 3 of their favorites from these 7 finalists. And the winner, who is obviously the candidate who has got most votes, is announced by the end of the conference. So this was in a nutshell what this Name of the Year award in Finland actually is about. And then I will go to analyze about the successful names throughout the history of this competition. So we start from the 2017, which was the first year of this award. And on that year, the winner was Tampereen yliopisto, which is maybe familiar name to you, also the international audience, because it is the Finnish name of the Tampere University, which is, for example, my former employer. And the background why this name was chosen as the name of the year is that approximately 10 years ago from this moment, there was kind of a big change in the university scene of the city of Tampere, because back then there were 3 universities in Tampere: the old Tampere University, Tampere Technical University, and Tampere University of Applied Sciences. But then there was this decision that these 3 universities were to be merged into one big university. And the name of the new university was highly debated, and for quite a while, first the name was planned to be Tampereen Uusi Yliopisto, which means New Tampere University in English. But obviously, onomasticians and also many others disliked this name because of the word uusi, which means new, because we understood that this name would look kind of stupid in, for example, let's say 20 years later. Would the university be new then anymore? Probably not. And perhaps this kind of reactions and kind of small protests about this name Tampereen Uusi Yliopisto led to the final development in 2017, when they decided that the name would eventually be this Tampereen Yliopisto, Tampere University, which it is nowadays when the merging process has ended. So this was the winner of 2017 competition. In 2018, there were actually 3 winners for the award. Not because it would have been a tie vote between 3 different candidates, but because these 3 names were actually one candidate. In some occasions, we have allowed that to be possible, because if those candidates are kind of similar, and the reason for awarding them is the same, which is the case in here. But these names, Helsingin Sanomit, Maaelu Tulevik, and Pealinna-Lehti, were awarded because in 24th of February 2018, Estonia celebrated their 100th anniversary of their independence. And on that day, 3 Finnish newspapers, Helsingin Sanomat, Maaseudun Tulevaisuus, and Hufvudstadsbladet, decided to translate their names into Estonian on the covers of their issues that day. So Helsingin Sanomat became Helsingin Sanomit, Maaseudun Tulevaisuus became Maaelu Tulevik, and Hufvudstadsbladet became Pealinna-Lehti. So these names were translated from Finnish or Swedish to Estonian. The meaning of these names was approximately the same. But we onomasticians considered that this was a nice way to honor the great jubilee of our dear southern neighbors. In 2019, the winner was Liisankatu, or Elisabethsgatan in Swedish. It is a street name which is located near the Helsinki city center. And the reason why it was awarded was that it turned 200 years in 2019, which makes it the oldest street name in Helsinki that is still in use. The name is given after Elisabeth Alexeyevna, who was the Empress of Russia at that time. And 200 years ago, Finland was still part of the Russian Empire. So that was the reason why the name was given. But anyway, the streets which are named after women are still not very usual in Helsinki. There are much more street names which are given after men. So this is kind of an exception, even though many people would hope to see more street names given after females also. And as this is the oldest street name in Helsinki and located quite centrally, it is of course also an important part of the historical and contemporary culture of Helsinki. It has got many slang names also, and it appears in song lyrics and so on. In 2020, the winner name was Tikkurilan kirkko, which is the name of the new church in the district of Tikkurila, and which is Dickorsby in Swedish. It is a district located in the city of Vantaa, just some 10 miles away from the Helsinki city center. And this church got an official name in 3 languages. So it is Tikkurilan kirkko in Finnish, Dickorsby kyrka in Swedish, and Tikkurila church in English. And as you probably can already deduce, the name Tikkurilan kirkko means simply Tikkurila church or the church of Tikkurila, which may be kind of perplexing for you why this name was chosen as the name of the year, because it seems quite an obvious and even a little boring choice maybe. But the background of this choice was that this name was chosen after a public name contest, which was organized by the local church organization. And according to the local newspapers, there were 270 different suggestions, some of which were quite, to put it kindly, imaginative, so that it was maybe good that those other choices were not selected. And after all these possible names, we onomasticians were quite relieved that this obvious choice, Tikkurilan kirkko, was actually chosen as the name of the year. In 2021, the name of the year was Koronavilkku in Finnish, or Coronablinkern in Swedish. And the background of this winner is that in 2021, the Finnish government tried to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic by publishing a mobile application that was intended to inform its user if they were possibly exposed to this disease. And this application was supposed to work with the help of GPS information. I'm not quite sure how well this application actually worked in the end. Probably not as well as the people in the government would have liked it to work, but nevertheless, it was a very popular app. In the beginning, almost half of the Finnish population downloaded it to their mobile phones. And the name of this application was Koronavilkku in Finnish and Coronablinkern in Swedish. And I think if you want to translate it in English, it would probably be just Corona Blinker. So kind of similar as it is in Swedish. And we onomasticians thought that this quite an important app, or at least it seemed very important back then, The name of the application was short and described its referent quite well, and it was easy to remember, so we onomasticians thought that this would be a good name for the important invention. And finally, last year, we awarded the Name of the Year award to the name Eläinsairaala Savon Murre, which is the name of a new animal hospital in Kuopio in the county of Savo in Middle Finland. It is called Savonia in English. And this name is a pun, kind of wordplay, because the word murre with a small letter means dialect in Finnish, but the name Murre with a capital letter in the beginning is a common proper name given for cats and dogs in Finland. So this name has two possible meanings. Firstly, it can mean animal hospital dialect of Savonia, or secondly, it can mean animal hospital Murre of Savonia. So we onomasticians maybe considered that the people in the Savonia area who are often quite proud of their dialect, which is quite distinctive compared to standard spoken Finnish. They might be appealed by this name that refers to their dialect and also to animals. So it might be a good name for that particular context. But then we can maybe take a look at the finalists by name categories. On the left you can see a table where the 49 finalists are categorized by their name category. And this 49 means that also the finalists of 2023, which we have just elected, they have all already counted in, even though I cannot, unfortunately, I cannot reveal them to you already because we haven't published them yet. But anyway, here you can see this categorization. So there are place names which are represent mainly urban toponymy, so names of streets, buildings, or city districts. And then there is this category of public institutions and services, which is also quite common category. So what I mean by this category is the names of institutions or services that are funded by the public sector, meaning government or cities. So kind of names of governmental agencies, websites, mobile apps, library buses, or so on. Also, the product names and company names are quite common finalists in this Name of the Year award. But what categories, on the other hand, are perhaps even surprisingly rare are firstly personal names. There have been only 4 of them, and also literary names. There have been only 2 of them, and there have been not a single animal name in the list of finalists any year. And to sum up this table, it seems to me that the finalists are mostly names that are given for entities with some kind of societal importance, and which is perhaps quite expected because those names appear more often in the news media than such names that are not that important socially. And then we can look at the finalists by language shortly. Here you can see this table where I have divided the 49 finalists into 4 categories: Finnish, Swedish, English, and other languages. This category of other languages include Estonian, Sami languages, international names, meaning names that or expressions that are quite similar in different languages, and therefore it is difficult to say what language they actually represent. And also the names that are not any known language. Some of these finalists have got different names in different languages, which is why the sum of these 4 categories is more than this 49. Most often the case is that the name has the object has name also both in Finnish and in Swedish, which is often the case, especially with public institutions and agencies. And what is perhaps most interesting or important in this table is that the number of finalists in English is significantly low, because in Finland, these proper names which are in English are actually quite common, or at least they are becoming increasingly more common in Finland, as well as the use of English language overall is becoming more common in Finland and probably in many other countries as well. But it seems quite obvious that we onomasticians, as well as also the ordinary citizens who send in the suggestions for the name of the year, we want to express kind of clear dislike towards this tendency, and therefore most of the finalists have been in Finnish or names that are Finnish. But that was the analysis of the name of the year, successful name of the year finalists and winners. And next I will cover how this name of the year award has been seen in media. Because as I already mentioned in the earlier slides, the purpose of this award is to highlight successful name choices and to emphasize the importance of name giving in society. So the award is just not for fun and excitement for us onomasticians, even though it is fun and exciting to elect the winner name and choose the finalists. But we also find it important that also the wider public gets to know about our choices and arguments. And I think that this Name of the Year award is a good chance to promote the importance of onomastics for the public. So to achieve this goal, a good communication strategy is needed. So you may ask how we do it. How do we do it? We do it so that we publish 2 different press releases. First of them 1 week before the election of the winner. And in this press release, we introduce the 7 finalists, and we'll also give information about the award in general and the conference in general, what kind of presentations there will be, because sometimes the press thinks that also the presentation titles, presentation topics are important and maybe worth some news article. And then we, of course, also give the time and date and time when the winner finally will be published. And the second press release is published at the same time when the winner is announced in the conference. And in that press release, we announce the award winner and also the 2nd and 3rd place names, and we also argue why these names were good, at least in our opinion. And what is perhaps interesting in this second press release, that the schedule of writing is quite tight. There are usually just 2 or 3 hours between the end of voting and announcing the winner, and usually it is my task to count the votes and then write the second press release. So I might miss some presentations meanwhile in the conference, but anyway, I think that this is kind of important anyhow. So nevertheless, I think that it is worth doing this work for the award. And these press releases are sent to the media via the University of Helsinki Communication Services, because they have the expertise in communicating scientific research to the media and public. They do similar kinds of press releases about scientific findings or important events at the university nearly every day. So the journalists in newspapers and so, they actively follow what the University of Helsinki Communication Services post. So this way we can get our press releases to the journalists so that they actually see them, and their help has been proved to be very important, because first year in 2017 we did not have any kind of proper media strategy. We just after the event started thinking that when we had just elected Tampereen yliopisto, Tampere University as the name of the year 2017, then we just started thinking whether we should announce it to the media. So, and I went quickly home and wrote quickly some kind of statement, and tried to send it to Finnish newspapers, but the award got no attention at all that year. But next year we decided to start using the services of the communication services, and since then the award has got decent attention in the Finnish mass media. And it seems to, at least to me, that practically all the biggest Finnish newspapers have published articles about the award winners on their websites. This is just a quick illustration about all the articles that Finnish newspapers have made about the Name of the Year awards. There are many more as well. Not all the media make articles every year, but at least in some years all of them have made, and also every year at least some media has written about our award, which is of course delightful that they consider it worth reporting. The articles that usually are published are quite heavily based on our press releases, which is maybe a bit boring, but on the other hand, it is not necessarily a bad thing, because at least then they get the facts right, which is of course nice. And in 2018, when the winners were the 3 newspaper names in Estonian, the award was also reported in Estonian newspapers, which was very nice that they saw that, because usually we published our press releases only in Finnish, because we expect that this is not very that there would be not that much of interest outside Finland, but sometimes it might be. And sometimes also newspapers or even TV and radio channels want to interview us for additional information, which is usually thanks to the press releases which we have been published beforehand, 1 week before the event, so that the media can prepare themselves if they want to make a larger story about the award. Perhaps the highest point or the greatest media success of this award was in 2020, when the Tikkurilan kirkko, Tikkurspykyrkan, Tikkurila Church did win the trophy. Back then, the reporter from the biggest commercial TV channel in Finland came to interview me, and I got to announce the winner of this year's Name of the Year award in the main evening news. So that year this choice got quite a nice publicity, and this reporter was also very delighted. He decided to travel to the area of Tikkurila to interview some locals about how they feel about this new name. But it was about the media coverage concerning the Finnish trophy. And now it seems that I have a little time left, so I will just make a brief discussion and give some of my conclusions about this presentation and this topic in general. As I mentioned earlier, to my knowledge, there is at least this American Name Society award in addition to the Finnish award. So I wanted to make some kind of quick comparison between these two. And first of all, the American Name Society award is definitely the older one of these. They have chosen it since 2004. But I'm not quite sure if we in Finland were aware of this award back then in 2017, when we decided to start choosing our name of the year. At least I wasn't reading the names journal very actively back then, so it might be just that we just invented our award on our own. But as I mentioned, our award is just one of them, and the nominees can represent any name category, whereas in the American award, there is, of course, this general name of the year award, but there are also several award categories for different name categories. So we can look here is the table of previous winners. You can see here that there are categories for fictional names, personal names, place names, trade names, miscellaneous names, e-names, and so there are much more winning names in Americas. And as I mentioned already, the American award is much more global than the Finnish one. As we see, last year there were Ukrainian winners, and there have also been winners from China, Sweden, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and so on. And these winner names they often reflect the major societal events of that year. So last year it was quite a lot about the war in Ukraine, whereas in the previous years there have been COVID-19 related winners, and Greta Thunberg, an important influencer, and also winners related to other important political events on that year. Whereas in Finland, as I have hopefully demonstrated the winners do not necessarily have a direct connection to the headline news in Finland. But what is common between us and them is the election method. So first, the public can suggest nominees, but finally, the onomasticians are those who decide the winner in a closed vote, which is in both cases linked to the annual conference. And it might be worth considering whether this Finnish award has some kind of need for improvement. First of all, I think it would be nice if we would get more nominations from the Finnish public. As I mentioned, there are usually like 20 or 30 of them, but it would be nice to have even more, because it seems that people are interested to read about who are the winners each year. So I would imagine that some people might be interested in also suggesting nominees for the award, but maybe they are not just aware of that possibility, or I'm not quite sure what is the reason for that, but it would be nice to have more nomination from which to choose. And the news seem to cover the other reason for why there are so few nominations might be that the news seem to cover more often news about bad name choices rather than the good ones, which is why it might be easier to choose the worst name of the year than the best name of the year. But obviously we do not plan to do so, or not really even considering that, because it would be quite unpleasant for the potential winners of this worst name of the year award, or even nominees. And of course we want to communicate about onomastics and names in a positive way rather than this kind of negative attitude. And one might also consider whether it is right that only us onomasticians, onomastic experts, get to decide who are the winners of the prize. If there was a public vote, the results might be quite different than what they are now. But obviously this kind of vote would be quite difficult to organize, at least fairly, so that one person could vote just one time. And just some final thoughts about whether this award and the publicity it has got, whether it actually is worth the effort, because the award obviously requires a considerable amount of work, choosing the candidates, organizing the vote, writing the press releases. It takes quite a lot of time, and it is not really our main job, so we organizers may do it kind of just voluntary additional work. But I think that it is quite fun and exciting, and it seems to me that the award seems to serve its purpose quite well. We have managed to communicate about onomastics to the wider audience quite well. But obviously it is quite difficult to know whether all these newspaper articles really increase people's knowledge about onomastics or appreciation of onomastics. And if it does, then how much is it really worth the effort? But overall, I think that it is worth all the work it causes, because, and if someone considers whether to establish a similar tradition in their own country, I would recommend at least giving it a try. And as I already mentioned before, if there are similar traditions in other countries as well, it would be very nice to hear about them. And perhaps if you know about those, you can share your knowledge in the discussion part, which starts quite soon, because now I think that I have said everything that I was going to say. So I thank you for your attention and welcome all kinds of questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Lasse, for your really interesting presentation. And now the field is open for questions or comments. Peter?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me the floor. Thank you, Lasse, for your very interesting lecture and for presenting this very good model, I think. We had in Austria, we gave a try in Austria to such an election. We launched a similar campaign 8 years ago. It was in 2015, and in the first, but according to the model of the American Name Society, this was our model at that time. And we confined it, however, to place names. So only place names were in question, were the names in question. And it worked very well in the first year. We had a great media response in the first year. Almost all the Austrian newspapers reported on our name of the year. But already in the second year, the interest of the media faded down essentially. And then in the third year, in 2017, my successor as the chair of the Austrian Board of Geographical Names decided to discontinue the effort, so to say. In the first year, our name was Spielfeld. This is a border station in the southern part of Austria, and it was in this wave of migration from Syria, of refugees, of asylum seekers, and of migrants to Austria. And this border station was frequently in the media, so it was very clearly that it should be the name of the year. In the second year, it was Hofburg. This is a imperial residence, or the imperial castle in Vienna, where the federal president resides now. And it was chosen because, and it was really frequently in the media because the federal president in this year was elected, and the election had to be repeated several times because of mistakes which have happened during the election, towards the counting and so on. So it was frequently in the media. But this second attempt was almost not at all reflected in the media. And the choice was rather out of many different possibilities in the second year. In the first year, it was clear that this one name is the outstanding name, and that it should become the name of the year. So it perhaps depends on this fact, whether a name is really an outstanding name in a certain period, in a certain year, or whether it is just one of several choices, so to say. So just as a comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was nice to hear about this Austrian short tradition, because it is nice to hear that we are not the only ones who have decided to try this. And well, of course, I'm sorry to hear that it was not worth going on with this short tradition. But anyway, it's yeah, you are perhaps right that it has, for the media attention, it has it depends very much about whether the name is interesting in a way or so. So that I have also noticed that on some years the name, it is much easier to promote this prize if the elected name is in some way interesting or thought-provoking, as in the case of this Tikkurila church, which was kind of, many people were just dazzled, like why it has been chosen as the name of the year, as it is just so obvious. And in this, but for example, when this Liisankatu, this street name in Helsinki, was elected on that year, it was not so easy to promote this for the media, because I think that some people thought that it is kind of a boring choice or so. So you are definitely correct that it depends on the elected name. So what was the process, if I may ask? How did you select it in the first and the second year?
Yes, in the first year, the voters were the members of the Austrian Board on Geographical Names.
Oh,
and the board is composed not only of linguists, but also of geographers, historians, and several other disciplines. And in the second year, it was the membership of the Austrian Geographical Society. So about 1,000 people. But of course, we received only responses from a few of them. So the electorate was in the first year just the Austrian board, comprising 25 members or so. And in the second year, it was the complexity of the membership of the Austrian Geographical Society. But this did not really function very well.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we in the Austrian board decided about it. The decision was felt. Yes, we were waiting for the votes, of course, and the majority decided, more or less. The majority decided.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? Yes, please. We can't hear you.
Patem, you are muted.
Your phone is muted.
Okay. Now it's okay, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you, Lasse, for this very interesting presentation. I have a question regarding to nominate the finalists. Do you have probably kind of social or political considerations when you decide about the finalists, because some of the names are potentially or can be controversial or sensitive in societies?
Yeah, that is a good question, and we, of course, in the jury, we have to consider whether if there are some controversial names, whether they are too controversial, because in some ways it is good that there are names that provoke, kind of maybe provoke so that people get interested, but on the other hand, we do not want to kind of be too greedy to get attention, so that the name should be
It's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is kind of colliding on the razor's edge, or so that we don't slip to either direction. But yes, it is a good question.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else? While we are waiting, I also have a question. You mentioned that it would be easier to choose the bad names or the worst names. Could you please mention some examples? What do you regard as bad names?
Well, it's kind of difficult to give some straight examples because, well, many of those names that are from the Finnish context, they are maybe a little difficult to explain to the international audience. But perhaps I think that, for example, some names for the public institutions or so, if they are, for example, in English, which has become more common, then maybe we onomasticians would consider them as kind of bad names because English is not an official language in Finland. But yeah, well, difficult to give some kind of understandable examples.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Have you received any reactions from the name givers?
I think that in some occasions, if they have noticed that, then they may have reacted in Twitter or so. Some of those who have got into the final have noticed it and maybe kind of quietly celebrated a little about it, but they are not always even noticing that maybe. So it depends on what kind of name it is about.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions, comments, suggestions?
Hello, I put on the chat that it would be a nice idea to take votes from secondary school students. Not to go to some grade schools.
Yeah, I just noticed your comment in the chat, and I think it is quite a nice idea to this way to get some kind of sample which represent the ordinary public. Of course, younger people might have a little different opinions on good names than the older ones, I suppose. But I think that it would be also nice to have nice to know the younger generation's opinion. I suppose that many of us participants of the Finnish conference are more like the older than the younger generations. Even though actually last year we had one presenter who was actually a high school student, only 18 years of age, but nowadays they are mostly a little older people.
Okay, thank you, Yolanda.
Maybe it will be good to try it, because if the objective is to have a wider audience, it can be a good idea. I think about the Goncourt des lycéens. It's a literary award who has the younger people in the secondary schools who vote for a novel. And it's interesting because it catch the attention about literature, for example. In this case, it will catch the attention for the onomastics. So maybe it will be worth to try once and see what it produces.
sound quality was, at least for me, it was a little bad, so I didn't quite hear all the words, but
I will write it maybe because if the sound is
it may be easier. Yeah, thanks. And of course, you don't have to have to write it just right now. So no hurry. We can also discuss it later if you like to suggest something.
Okay. Any other questions, suggestions, ideas? No? Okay, then I think I pass the word to Katalin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lasse, for this exciting lecture and thought-provoking lecture. And finally, I would like to remind you that our next speaker is going to be Mátyás Gersics, who is going to talk about minority place name regulations in Slovenia in November. So hopefully see you soon.
Remember to send in your ICOS 2024 abstracts.
Yeah, the most important thing.
And share the information with your colleagues if you haven't already done so.
Thank you, Lasse.
But yeah, thank you, Katalin, and see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.